There you go.
But uh, Zoom has changed in the last few months, and it wasn't where I used to look for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I
So,
really only use the Zoom recordings here.
yes.
Nathaniel, what's going on with it? Are you building and deploying or building up any Daisy systems to ship? The one that Bob has, the one W1XB, is a marvelous site. He's is up there with Conrad and almost reached uh, Tom Paratori,
Yeah.
WATTP's spot counts. He's
hi-
doing.
His is doing amazing. And he has his own antenna system, so he's not
Just
using the
just wait till I connect the antennas.
No,
Oh.
Bob, it's a beautiful site. I mean, you know what you're doing with antennas, of
Mm.
course, and receive systems. Have you looked at your spectrum? I mean, have you?
Yeah, okay. Remember the alias thing? Well, it's in
Yes,
band.
yeah, yeah.
That signal's in band.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. It's not an alias. It's a real signal.
it's a real signal.
Okay.
Um, I'm thinking of putting a notch on it because it's so strong. But
Well, it's
anyway, and Clint has suggested I remove the um, DC RF choke that is to feed a preamp on the on
if
the
if you want
80.
to go down to lower frequencies, that's yeah
Well,
below.
I personally would like this to work at 630 meters, and I
Yeah.
figure um,
Yeah.
the antenna should work so to some degree, and so
Well, I think you I think yes,
The, the
let's
bias
see.
the bias T inductor doesn't have a huge effect on 630.
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. By the way, I pulled your notes, and,
Okay, yeah. I,
and
but
Yeah,
but
you're doing.
but if you're listening on 630 and you have an antenna that works there, it probably will kind of work on 2200 anyway. So if you're but and Whisper Demon will can record, of course, the what is it, the
30.
30 the 5, 15 and 30 minute versions of FSD4W with no problem. And
You're gonna.
that's what a lot of people are using, at least for beacons. So, and you should, and any time of the year, you should see a number of signals back east. There's a like N4LO, I think, is a,
Yeah, he's last hour you got 39 spots on 630, Bob.
Hmm.
Uh, this is your wait a second screen. Where is this? Here's your map on 630 for the last hour.
yeah. Well, I pull it up every once in a while, and that's about the limit of what it'll do right now. But I am not seeing the noise floor. I mean the antenna noise. I'm just seeing the receiver noise floor on
Mm-hmm.
630.
what antenna do you have?
It's a 630-meter vertical. It's not very tall, but it's got lots of antenna loading wire, and it's got a lot of wire in the ground. But I'm feeding it. It's not tuned. I'm just
Okay,
connecting to the monopole.
right, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't very often use my my transmit antenna for receive here, but if I do, I make sure it is tuned. You know, check the nano VNA, and I get like 8 or 10 ohms of feed point resistance, but in a receiver that doesn't care usually.
Yeah,
Or you can just tune it till the noise comes up. That's the
I I I I do pretty well on the loop antenna. I've got one of these. It's a commercial loop. It's called a something 30 M30 plus. They're about $50 on Amazon. seems to work pretty well. Doesn't get overloaded by the FM band.
I used my circa 1986 L400B from VLF engineer for from LF engineering, but I have the luxury of a metal roof, and it's on the metal roof, and the feed line's decoupled and all that. So that's also the one I use for the Blitzerton receiver here as well. So not ideal, but but it works remarkably well in this urban environment.
I don't like leaving the receiver on the big antenna when the storms are about.
Well, surge protector type NE2 isn't too bad. Yeah. As well as a bleeder resistor.
Oh yeah.
It's not, yeah.
There's a 1K resistor.
Yeah, I actually have on my on the system feeding my Kiwis. I have several series anti-parallel, just back-to-back diodes there, well above the breakover voltage for the local signals, of which there are increasingly fewer since I put it up. A number of the AM broadcast stations have gone dark that had been my strong signals.
Well, my strong signals come from my noisy neighbor, which is I'm adjacent to the Lincoln Laboratory MIT Millstone site, if you're familiar.
Yes.
No, but I can imagine.
And their Iona sound.
Yes.
Some things you just can't compete with.
Back to net.
Bill, are you available?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, Bill or Phil?
Bill.
Me?
No, Bill.
He
B-I-L.
wants to talk about VLF. Yeah,
Bill,
Jonathan, what does your data consist of? What is the format and bandwidth and samples per second and all that kind of thing?
So currently with the hosts that are ready now, this is so this won't be files. This will be streams. This is something a little different than I guess you're used to, but these are low bandwidth Vorbis streams. There's 3 VLF receivers from the VLF community, and they will be sending a low bandwidth Vorbis stream over a network socket. So how it would work is that you would have a bunch of utilities from VLFWorks tools. They're going to listen on to a specific port from outside the internet, and it's going to accept the stream on that port, and then it's going to be and then from there the data will be written to disk, and it will also be sent to the event detector, and some other utilities, I believe VT-SID as well, to make some plots. But this is just going to be a basic back end type of thing, just to get started, just to collect data. And the front end, the visualization, that'll come later. But that was that was kind of the plan. In fact, Nathaniel and I, we would like to have a more detailed discussion on this with you and Christina regarding the VLF data ingress. So these initial hosts, these are hosts that are in Europe, and they will be sending data via a Vorbis stream. Think of streaming audio. So that's you know, basically the gist of it. And I would go through with you the how to set up VLF-RX tools, how to set up the scripts and all that stuff. I have to I want to bring one of my thin clients online so I could do some testing and just a basic template of a script because that's how that we're gonna invoke VLF-RX tools. It'll be via a script. That's the easiest way to manage it. That's basically it, at least for now, because I wanted to kind of do this in baby steps so we kind of have a better understanding of what's going on. Not to try to jump at everything at once. Just a baby step. So this will be just streaming data collection.
This is like an audio stream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would do is, if it were me, I would take this audio stream and write it to disk and upload it once a day. That a day being an observation, that would make it compatible with everything else we're doing. And you know, what is the speed of your? Are you running it at audio like 24 kilohertz, or what's your data acquisition rate?
These streams are these streams go up to 16 kilohertz.
That's 68 gigabytes a day.
Yeah, that's a lot of data.
Well, see, we won't save it all. It'll be on a circular buffer where we would save, let's say, 20 days worth of data. However, the stuff that we do save, which would be the stuff that the event detector finds, and the PNG plots, which are very low, small in the
Very
file
small, yeah.
sizes.
Very small, right?
So the reason why that this data is streamed is because what we're doing is so the signal processing and the signal analysis is done as the signal comes in. Like I said, this is a little different than how it's handled with, I guess, the stuff that HamSCI is used to. Getting in just regular data files, transferring them via LFTP. This is a little different. But the good thing about this streaming, this isn't like, you know, we're not talking about just like an IceCast stream. So these streams contain timestamp data, and the streaming applications also cover breaks in the data. Let's say that that there's a hiccup in the internet, some sort of where you get some packets dropped. So they're actually very versatile. And so the handling of all of that, the reason why that it's streamed in the first place is so all of the live analysis can be done. And then in the live analysis signal chain, the data is also written to disk. So once you get an actual stream of data, an audio stream, you can send it in various directions, in various utilities, to do various processing. And you don't process it where you get data that's bulk uploaded. So,
okay, you're going to stream this, but you're just not going to stream it to our server. You're going to stream it to another computer where you're going to do the analysis and upload data products to our server. Our server is not set up to be some kind of a real-time system. And you'll not be happy with that anyway, because the internet just isn't that responsive.
Well, see, this is something that we'll have to figure out and talk about.
Yeah, it's quite doable. It's just you have to architect the system to make sure that you can actually accomplish what you want to do, given the realities of, you know, the internet and a server that's not necessarily going to be up all the time. And I mean, we ought to figure out where we're going to process the data, but I don't think it's going to be on the existing server. We'll need to put something in the middle, some kind of middleware.
Well, then that would involve another server.
Yes, at your house.
Well,
or somewhere, but
well,
there may be more details than we're able to resolve tonight, so we might have to, like Jonathan said, we may have to have another meeting. That's just like Bill, Jonathan, me, maybe Christina, and we can figure this all out.
Are you talking about 25 of these feeds?
No, it could eventually be more. That's why I think I don't think we have the time to discuss all this on the call tonight. But I do think we should schedule another meeting with Bill and Jonathan to figure out how we're going to properly handle the VLF in the future.
Yeah. Because I mean, this is manageable, and this stuff is low bandwidth, it does not require a lot of processing power or RAM, since we're dealing with fairly efficient tools, and much lower bandwidths. Because the bill eventually, I was hoping in the future that we could integrate the VLF data ingress into the personal space weather station server somehow, where it can do do these functions, but since this is only VLF data and efficient tools, the use of resources isn't really that much of an issue. It's fairly manageable, because eventually, the plan is that once we get these VLF receivers communicating, we will be so in the future. How do you feel about uploading small text files, a couple of kilobytes each, every 2 minutes, and then processing those text files? And those text files would be information that will be used to calculate the location of lightning strokes.
Well, I mean, that's like different than what you were talking about before. You were talking about 16 kilohertz. And that's and coming in from multiple stations, that's a lot of data. You know, but if you're talking about now small text files, that's different.
Right. Now, I mean, are you talking about, like, it's a lot of data in terms of internet bandwidth or storage?
Both.
Both. So
you're asking the server to become a real-time data processing thing, real time.
Right.
And that
Right.
usually isn't done over long distances. That's usually done with a local server, and then you extract the distilled data product, and that's what you send to the bulk data store.
Right. So I know that this sounds cumbersome, right? But these streams over the internet, these are going to be Vorbis compressed. So the actual internet bandwidth consumption is fairly low, about 80 kilobytes per second per stream. And then for storage,
Jonathan, you do, like, this is the same system that that Paul Nicholson had running, right?
yeah.
And so there's an example of how this is done, right?
Yes.
Right.
And his system, he was taking in, I think, at the most 10 streams, and he was using someone's old office computer to run his software and take in these streams. And he used one hard disk, I think it was a couple terabytes. And he only kept about 20 days worth of data. So, I mean, this actually has been done in the past successfully.
Well, the secret to this is going to be starting with the end in mind. We need to take a look at what do you want the results to be, and then work backwards, figure out how to do it.
Well, right, and that's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to be looking for some visualizations which will come in the form of plots, and to generate those plots, you would run simple bash scripts. Well, I mean, they're not simple, but Paul ran bash scripts on this server, which would invoke utilities from VLFRX tools, and they would sample the incoming streams and then generate the plot files. And he also, so there's also the event detector. So the event detector, what that does is that actually listens to the data coming in, the stream coming in. And it looks for whistlers and dawn chorus and periodic emissions, the natural radio emissions. And what it did is it once it found something, it would create a 6-second data file and a spectrogram thumbnail and a text file with some information. And what Paul did was he ran some scripts on his website, and it showed up as a event gallery, which is a gallery of these spectrogram thumbnails, which you would click on each thumbnail that would generate a larger image of the spectrogram, and also provide a 6-second wave file that can be downloaded, where you could listen to the stream, or where you could listen to that event. So that was what one of the main features of Paul's server, was this event gallery. So it was definitely manageable. It was doable. He did it on a home internet connection without any issues, and he was able to get a lot of good data from it.
Well, how many of, if we're planning on putting a bunch of these, here's the thing, you don't get it, try not to become obsessed with the idea of doing this all in central server. I mean, something like this would normally, there would normally be some distillation of the data at the client. And the way you've described it, it sounds like the LFRX tools is something that could possibly run on a Raspberry Pi at each location, and then just upload the detected events to the central server.
Yes, we could also do that too. However, the problem is that the event detector isn't perfect, so it detects a lot of false events.
Rosemary said, "Hi, Bob.
So
missed you.
So then what will have to be done is that someone, a human, which would be me, would actually have to go in and delete the false events. I could show you an example with ILDN, because ILDN is India's first domestic lightning detection network, and this is also so ILDN is kind of the end product, what I'm looking for, which I believe would be useful to the community.
As I said, I think we can achieve what we need to do here. I think we should have an offline discussion with Bill and with you, Jonathan, and I think we should schedule that.
Yeah. I only just wanted to go over just the high level stuff, just to make sure. Now like here, so this is the main web page, where it shows the map of India, and right here is where we have some detected lightning. So kind of eventually, like on the server, whatever server, it would show a map of the United States, different regions, let's say the Northeast, and then it would show something like this. And this data would be coming from the VLF receivers. But the stroke calculations, so lightning information would come from the VLF receivers, but the stroke calculations and mapping and use of PostGIS and all this stuff, that'll be done on the server. But what I talk about the event gallery, right? So if we click on events, this is the VLF receiver at Tripura in India. And you can see the gallery of spectrograms. These are all whistlers. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. And you would, let's say, click on one. This one has two. Now this requires a password login, but that would bring you to a larger spectrogram and a WAV file that you can download. This is oops. So this is actually very useful information. And then you could pick different sites. Let's say the TV sites, there's nothing going on there. SG, Gulmard. There's some whistlers here. So this is done by the data being live streamed from the site, a 16K stream from the site to the server. And then VLFRX Tools is taking in the stream, it's running it through the event detector, and then the scripts and then the web page are making this event gallery. And then there's also other information too, like the spectrogram that will actually show you daily spectrograms of the VLF band up to 16 kilohertz. But that's those are PNG files. So this is kind of the idea that I have. And so we have Paul's site and we have ILDN as models for this. And since they've been successful and they're extremely useful, it makes sense to follow this path. And since the personal space weather station server, at least as it is now, there's some interactivity to it. And then with the various data products. So this is the kind of interactivity that I had in mind for the VLF receivers. So yeah, as I said, this is or as Nathaniel said, for a more detailed discussion, we'll plan it at a later date. Nathaniel, what I would like to do is invite Anirban along in this discussion, because he has some very good input. And Bill, Anirban, he is the PI of the ILDN, so it's run it is run as a collaboration between 10 universities in India. And Anirban, he's a professor at Tripura University, and he's managing the system now, and the system was originally designed by Paul. So so this is kind of the stuff that I had in mind. and I believe it's definitely doable. I know it's kind of different than what you're doing now, what's being done now, but I know that it's definitely doable.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of another server for this, because I'm really struggling with the complexity of the existing one, and to add something as complex as this on top of it. And we can put up another server if there's funding. And then send the data from that to PSWS network. And then we'll just have to see if we can keep the data streams, actually have enough integrity in the internet system to be able to deal with a real time. And you're talking about a bunch of these, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Bill, it kind of equates to the like with the amount of systems that I had in mind, all that live streaming together kind of equates to something like a video on Netflix. You know what I mean? It's not, they're not really high bandwidth data streams, since their Vorbis compressed. So I mean, yeah, I definitely do agree. It is complex, but I believe that the value in the end result will be high enough where it would definitely benefit many members of the community. You know, because we have a lot of people that are hungry for open access lightning data, which there isn't any in the United States, none. There are so it, and there are also none of its kind any sort of VLF systems with open access and interactive data. So it's this is definitely worth it. And since it was mentioned that there was funding available for this, for the development, for the charrette, that's why that I wanted to include this.
Is the ILDN open source?
Yes, it is.
Because we could just stand up a server and a new server and make our own version of that using, we could start with standing up one of our own that runs the software that they're running.
Right. Yeah. That's also an option. And Bill, I'm going to be doing a lot of the like server development. Like I'm not going to like ask you to just say make this happen. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be a team effort where the where no one would be burdened with many things, or trying to make some tall order happen, right? This will be like a group thing, with multiple members involved. So that's why when we have our discussion, I just wanted to kind of lay out the goals and what we have in mind and what we're looking for. But absolutely, the ILDN can be like our version of the ILDN can definitely be stood up, and we can modify it the way that we see fit. But I mean, it's definitely doable, and not one person would be doing all of the work. I mean, well, I'll probably be doing the majority of the work and getting this server stood up and or at least developed, right? So I'll be doing the development of the scripts and the server and like things like that, or the different components rather. So it's not like you know I only want to just to try to ease your mind a little bit. You this isn't going to be something that you know I'm going to say, Bill, make this happen. It's this will be like a group effort, and there's going to be support available, and we'll all figure this out as a team. So everybody will contribute what they could. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's start thinking in terms of another server for this. Well, like I say, it's a struggle keeping the current server running without adding something of this magnitude to it. But we can certainly talk about putting another server in, and I think it would have to be separate anyway, because there is no model for UA to allow people who are not UA employees to work on a UA server. So this would have to be separate. Maybe I don't know exactly how to accomplish it, but I'll have to talk to the HPCC people and get their input on it. And then, I mean, it would be possible for us to have this work as a front end, and then we could, if you want to, have some mechanism for long-term storage of specific data products. In fact, I'm thinking that maybe we need something that's got a GPU on it, because you might want to do some machine learning so that you don't have to, so that you or somebody doesn't have to sit there and pick out the false positives or whatever. You said you had an idea that you need to remove certain things that are detections that aren't right or aren't real. That's an ideal application for machine learning.
Yeah, it definitely would be. That's not an area, or I don't, that's not my area of expertise. So a student will have to work on that. But for the time being, I mean, I do it quite a bit on the Nathaniel system as I go through and I remove false events. So it's but yeah, at least for the future, this is something that AI could tackle. And in fact, that was when Paul was talking about his event detector the one time, he actually mentioned that the next step would be something like AI. But for the time being, it's just these tools. But see, like I don't know. From what I understand, there was no funding allocated for a separate server.
I think I think let's table this discussion for now. I think there part of the process of the charrette that we're going through right now is to develop an appropriate plan to figure out how we're going to implement the different requested features. And one thing that I do know is that we did write the VLF server, well, not the server, we did write the VLF instrument into the grant. And so we do need to figure out an appropriate way to support that data type and that and its appropriate processing. So we have to figure that out. Exactly how we're going to do that on the UA side and exactly what a new server means, especially in this world of virtualized servers, that I think is going to be a discussion that we just have to take offline, and we need to talk through things. I don't think that I think starting with the ILDN architecture and looking at that and basically trying to re-implement that, I think is a really good starting point for at least for understanding what we want to do. I don't think we want to go into the whole like AI situation. I don't think this is nearly as processing intense as Bill is imagining it to be. So I think we just have to have a separate offline discussion to kind of hammer out these details and figure out what is feasible.
Also, server capacity is not expensive in our
Yeah, and
regime.
that's what I mean. So I'm aware of that. So I do think that we'll be able to get this figured out. I
I
don't.
just don't want to commingle it with what we're doing now. But the machine that we have that is a big fat machine, and we have one little corner of it. Another
Right.
virtual machine could be carved out to do this, and then you can link them.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I just have to work. I'll have to work out the issue of how non-UA employees work on it, but maybe that's possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like it should be.
Yeah, I think probably the way with that, and you started to do this with me before, and I know we have at Scranton, we have a mechanism where we can have non-employees become like non-employee affiliates, and you end up going through the whole HR process, but then you can access the equipment. And I imagine that UA might have something similar. But I think what's really nice about this is that there are example servers that are up and running that are using open source software that can handle this. And from what I understand from Jonathan is these servers are not intensive systems. They are, I think it's I think they're run on very modest or rather modest hardware from what I understand. So I think we should table this for the rest for tonight, but I do think we should have a discussion in the future where we schedule another meeting just for this, and we can either do this on a Friday when Jonathan's over at Scranton, or we could do it on a Monday night, but we can do it in a breakout room. So just the people who want to be involved in that discussion can do that. How does that sound?
Good, yeah. And yeah, like Daniel said, like a server that Paul was running, I could probably run that on a thin client with like 20 streams, and that's how little processing power that it takes. And the other good thing is that it does not use Python. So these are very efficient programs using bash scripts and utilities written in the C. So there's no Python, because I know that can be very processor intensive. But anyway, yeah, we'll plan this for another discussion soon. I don't know, maybe on a Friday, maybe that would be best if there's people available. And then when that's done, then I could email Anirban, and we can see when he's available, and he could join in as well.
Yeah. I think for the first start of the discussion, Jonathan, why don't we just have you, Bill Engelke, and me, and this way we can hammer out some of the I I think we'll be able to just hammer out some of the big things with the University of Alabama system that I don't think a Nearbon needs to worry about so much. And then once we get that in, then we can bring a Nearbon into the conversation.
Okay, should we add, should we also include Christine too?
We
Christina?
certainly, yeah, we can certainly invite her. I think yeah, we can absolutely invite her, but I think the minimum number of people we should have is for the first conversation is you, Bill, and then me. And then we can add Christine, and Christina can join if she's available. If she's not available, I think we'll be able to make good progress. And then we can add Christina and Nearbon once we get kind of through that first conversation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, just let me know. I do have a meeting with our student developer team every Friday, 1:30 to 2:30, that's Central Time. So that time is blocked out, but other than that, on Fridays, I'm available.
Okay, good. Okay, and Nathaniel, there was a last thing that I wanted to ask you about. Is that we need to test at least one of these systems. That one of these VLF systems that are going to be sent out.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to make sure that the system works as a whole, at least the hardware.
Absolutely.
So what I was going to do was I was going to build up an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could install that antenna at your house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also working on the interface board. And I'm gonna have a prototype soon that I could mess with. But before we actually have systems available to be sent out, I want to make sure every hardware component actually works.
Yes.
And we definitely have to test it before we send everything out.
Yes.
So then, because before you joined, Elmer mentioned that he had some hardware that he's going to mail us, and this is going to be for the separate VLF antenna testing, which we can do at your house
Okay.
for that. But there's also the other testing that has to go on to test these systems that I designed and built to make sure that they do what they're supposed to iron out any issues and optimize everything. Get all the bugs out, just so this can be as seamless as possible. Because
Yes.
I have a feeling that it's going to be a bit cumbersome at first, getting these systems running with volunteers.
Yes. We can certainly do that testing over at my house.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I will keep you updated. Now, should I just continue to work towards getting something that's ready to go and to be tested?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right. Then that's what I'll do. I was at the university this past Friday, and I was building up one of the antenna inserts. So I was I'll just continue working on that, and I will continue working on the interface board, and then we'll move forward with testing. Oh, and when you get a chance, read the email from a Anirban, because he was interested in moving forward with the agreement.
Okay, that sounds good. Yes, I think that sounds good, and I will do that.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, well, that's all that I have. So Nathaniel, I will probably see you not this upcoming Friday, but probably next Friday. And if I have any issues, I will let you know.
That sounds great. I'll be available for that.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you, Nathaniel.
You're welcome.
Yep. Back to the net.
All right, good night. 73.
73, Bill.
Good night, everybody. W1XP.
Have a good night. Rob, are you staying on?
I don't know. I've been chatting with Phil about the subject I wanted to discuss, and we've been doing it in Signal on the side. So I don't think I think Phil, you understand what I'm doing. I'm composing an email. We have one more application for our network, which is came up at Pacificon. So it's a minor little change to the software to that. I met with Brian K. AB6D. He's a soda, Summits on the Air enthusiast. And apparently they use these FT8 messages. When they get up on top of a mountain, they send out a message, FT8 message, I gather, that says, I'm here.
Soda
Yeah.
Mate?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's been using your web SDR as his source of recordings that he can decode. And I don't think it's very burdensome to you, but it's cumbersome, and I said it's easy to would be easy to add right now, add posting of his messages uh, to the software we're already running, the decoding software. And that would free up one of your WebSDR channels and the associated, audio stream going out all the time. It's not, I don't think it's too big a deal for you, but it's, um, just one more thing that we could be doing. And if it's if it's a part, he's been, Phil Gladstone apparently is completely happy with having these SOTA messages go into his database. And so that would, give Brian a whole bunch of sites listening simultaneously, not just yours. And free you from the burden, other than a tiny bit of processing and bandwidth, um, by adding that capability to the FT8 library. So anyway, that was kind of the most interesting thing. I also am trying to recruit him. Actually, he lives in Burlingame, right, even closer to KFS than I am, and it was very interested in the KFS site. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll get somebody who'd be interested in assisting out there. Uh, so he's a president of the San Mateo Amateur Radio Club or something, and so I'm searching for local support people for that site.
Well, if he's president, are they a 501c3?
Yes, you're right. Maybe they are. Good thought. Well, I just had, I had a half-hour talk with him outside the Pacificon, but he was very enthusiastic. And so I want to follow up. And so I'm just using, right?
I've never used SodaMate, but I obviously I knew of its existence. I didn't know they were doing that on the WebSTR, but yeah, something more efficient, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and it would work better too if they were getting an actual channel from the 888.
Yes. Well, he knew all that. I was a little surprised that he hadn't contacted you about his use of your site.
I don't recall him contacting. No.
Yeah. But anyway, he seems like a very nice and enthusiastic. He's a professional software developer, so he's a good candidate for us. In several ways for Whisper Demon and KFS and various aspects of our project. So nothing direct there. Nathaniel, you saw that we had we have the Whisper Sound up in St. Helena.
That's fantastic.
And it's marvelous. And when the receiver was up, when he switched from his previous the previous server to the B-Link, for what I don't know if that I can't imagine that was the reason, but anyway, his spot counts went way up. He was getting 1,1600 spots per hour, which is very credible, especially for that part of the world. Great WWV reception site. So when it has a receive antenna attached to it again, I'm going to I'll get a station ID for it, and we'll start have it contribute to the Grape network. And I just saw that I missed most of what Bill said, but I noticed that the web pages and dashboards are back up. So it appears that he did a pretty seamless job of migrating, because I see many of the Whisper Demon sites seem to be contributing. At least I see them green on his map. So that's pretty encouraging. I thought that the way the sites work, right now I test the sites, the old code tested the sites by trying to do an SSH connection and run the true command on, and that would no longer work. That, SSHs are blocked. But for some reason it seems to be working in spite of that, and I've modified the code. I've also my code so that it only uses SFTP now to validate and the site, the connectivity, and as it always was doing SFTP uploads. The other thing I did, which I don't think will affect you or the HamSCI people, but I did the SSR program that I think you and others in the HamSCI community are using for remote access. I enhanced it so that those of us who are Whisper Demon users can be connected to both your VPN and to the WhisperNet VPN at the same time.
Oh, good.
And so we can, so that means that I can just, those of us who have WireGuard configs for both networks, can immediately be constantly online. So I can, you know, I am just as easily SSR to, you know, rack 206 as I can to, you know, one of the 100s, you know, the Whisper Demons. I don't think that affects you guys because you know, you guys only have access to the HamSCI LAN. So I
Right.
don't think, so you can continue to use the existing SSR. There might need to be an update. I mean, there's a slight change to the config file. Um, um, you have to declare a variable slightly differently, and it might affect SSR. So there might be a need for an update, which would happen automatically if I update the SSR.sh on your server. You'll get prompted if you run SSR. It'll prompt you. You want to download the new version, and you can just say yes, and it should work. So if you see that happening, it's because I've updated your SSR because it needs it. But
Okay.
I don't think it seems to work fine. Gary, did you see I sent an email to Gary and CC'd you? Christine called me, I guess with my help or Phil's help or somebody's help, they seem to work through their problems on Friday afternoon, which basically I think involved replugging the 888. Um, um, but and then there was mention that it was down for some reason. I couldn't tell why, but when I logged into it, when he sent me an email earlier saying they thought it was down, I found it logging spots normally.
This is the K3LR one.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
heard anything from Gary or Christine.
You know that Gary sent some updates. I have not been able to keep up with my emails this weekend. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, you don't have to do anything about it. I just if you do bury them, you can file them away immediately. You don't have to read them. There's a picture I think that the antenna system is degraded some in movement. I see. I should have included you, Clint, in this, but I saw in the spectrum that there's a big rise in noise above 20 meters now. 20 dB broad peak.
On which antenna?
This is one of those DX engineering
Oh,
monopoles. So
monopoles?
yeah, you know, it's an E-field probe antenna, 930.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of that's the reference antenna for for these. Let's see if I can find it. Uh, yeah, let's see. Here's what it looks like. Maybe you have some insight into this, Clint. Uh, it's it didn't look this way. This is yeah, of course, this is 0 to 64. Of course, there's a low pass filter in front of it. So um, the whatever is you see these big this rise that's occurring. I mean, nighttime right now. So I think the bands are likely most of those are closed, and yet you can see how much the noise level goes up above. You know, it starts to go up at 12. So if we look here at the peak and zoom in, let's see what it looks like. You know, I wonder if this could be a Ethernet problem. Yeah, because this is a wired Ethernet connection now.
I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, did it change? Was it wired when it was?
It wasn't wired. I don't think it was wired
Yeah,
before.
it was Wi-Fi before, and the antenna did not move. Only the receiver moved.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the very least, well,
It
DX
doesn't.
Engineering. So, well, is it a PoE antenna? I mean, PoE Ethernet.
That I
I'm,
don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, if it was wireless before, it obviously had to be getting power from somewhere. Well, DX Engineering sells the back-to-back transformers, and maybe they would contribute us that to there's no
Yeah, they could
PoE
try.
on there
Yeah.
to break up a loop to see if that's the problem, and it possibly is. I mean, that doesn't look like typical switching supply stuff, but then again, because I didn't see
Yeah.
discrete bands when you zoomed in.
Yeah. I don't see, it doesn't, if it were Ethernet, there are pairs of, 64 what is it, 64 kilohertz, and there's pairs of
I,
lines.
I, well, I mean, it could also be. I mean, so the big problem is that a lot of routers these days, even if they are not PoE, do have connections on board as if they were PoE, which means that the sanctity of the galvanic isolation and capacitive decoupling on those cables is violated. Normally,
Yeah.
the spec of a typical phi transformer is like 30 puff ish, but
Yeah.
ones that could have PoE or might have some of the pairs connected to, or the standard taps connected to like bypass caps on the board, or maybe they're grounded, which means that you could be conducting noise from a noisy router or switch or something out. I've seen this. I've seen this before at a friend's place, and the fix was to get a different switch. It was
Get
just
a cheap switch.
well, actually, we replaced the cheap switch with a not quite as cheap switch, and then we had to load it with ferrites.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it is tolerable. The big problem we have at that remote site is PoE cameras, but they produce carriers everywhere rather than white noise everywhere.
No.
So yeah, I would get flat Ethernet. Yeah, I know if you can't get some of the, get these, this is that so-called Cat6 flat stuff around some T140 or I don't know, 110 cores, and that'll help. But the thing is all you can do with that is knock stuff. The best you can hope for is maybe 20 dB of attenuation, which would knock it down from a mere 90 to mere, it should be what, S6 down to an S4 noise floor, which still be not great.
I don't know. I think the easiest one would be to turn on the Wi-Fi and go back to Wi-Fi connectivity. Well, we don't need, if the Wi-Fi signal is strong enough, use that and forget about a wired Ethernet.
That might be possible. I think, yeah, that's a possibility.
Should I discuss this with Gary and Christine? This looks to me like there's also problems with the CPU core allocation, because those things that go all the way across the band. Of course, I know I'm at the problem here is I've zoomed to a level that maximally stresses the CPU. And that's what's happening. If I zoom out, you won't see those glitches happening anymore. Those glitches were because of the Phil. I did Phil with us? Is he still here? I don't know. I did do I wrote a library. Yeah, I wrote a little library routine that does the CPU allocation, and it what it does is it finds the FFT threads. And what its process group, and then it finds all of its peers, the RX 888 proc and all of the lens, and it puts, well, let's just say in the simplest example, puts the FFT thread on core 0, finds the hyperthread pair, because you can find that out from the kernel. Kernel will tell you the hyperthread pair for core 0, and puts everything else on the pair, which is typically core 1. And that makes a huge difference in performance. And then what I do is, once I've done that, I've been slowing the CPUs way down to like 1.4 gigahertz, because the Whisper Daemon cores, there's so much CPU power that you don't need to run them fast. And that reduces their access to the level 3 cache, and you no longer see the bumps in the slowdowns in the FFT operation when the Whisper Daemons fire up. So I think I've come up with a way to. Oh, that's a bad one. That's you don't. Yeah, that's That's the CPU transient
That
CPU problem.
and that's at K3LR.
Yeah,
Why
that's the
would
transit.
yeah?
It
Why
just
why would there suddenly be a CPU problem? Because
oh,
like
it's it just you may have never looked at it. These problems appear when you're looking at things with the spectrum view, because
yeah,
Phil spawns a spectrum thread which can
yeah,
consume as much CPU as the proc thread, or half as
right.
half
But
a.
we've been looking at K3LR spectrum for a month or two now,
I
and like
know.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it depends upon your anyway. It
hmm,
you'd have to go. I've that's that might be something else. It
yeah.
doesn't.
It just
Usually.
I mean if it must if it is, it's something that we missed before because the only thing Gary did was unplug the thing from one room and put it into
Yeah,
another
yeah,
room.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you know. Again, unless you know what you're looking for, these things can appear to be like thunderstorms and things like they look like that on the spectrum display. There's a thunderstorm burst, right? You can see that it's
yeah,
confined to the low frequencies. But if they extend across the whole of the spectrum, then there was this auto CPU, or really not so much CPU. It's a level 3 cache oversubscription problem. That's too many. So um, anyway, Phil, I think I can heuristically adjust the um, the CPU and thread and dynamically track it. So I'll wake up every 10 seconds or so and look at what's running and go through and make sure everything is optimally, everything is assigned optimally to CPU cores.
All right.
I don't know that that's something you can do with for other K9Q users. I'm not sure that. I mean, you're welcome to use my code. I mean, but I'm not sure that it would be, doing that kind of CPU assignment, core assignment, really requires what you need to know what else is running on the system, and that's in my case I do, know what else is running. Anyway, that's um is Gary, who's the point person there? There was somebody in that email. Oops, there we go. You see that?
I think you can talk to Gary about that.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's what I did. I sent him an email on
Yeah,
it, and I will. I don't usually. He's not usually part of any of the. I guess he's in what the Thursday morning calls. It's
yeah,
opportunity to talk to.
he's on the Thursday morning calls.
Okay. Well, if I make it to that, then I can talk. But I'll send him an email just telling him we discussed this and.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds good.
Okay, I mean it's still the site's working very well. Um, Not quite as well as George's, in Michigan. George has done a great job uh, on investigating the antenna systems, and I think he'll be a great resource in deployment in terms of telling DAISY sites, looking at them and helping with installations and optimizations. Um, But this is a good site. It's very good. It's not noticeably, even before this move, it wasn't noticeably better than yours um, or George's. So it was kind of geographically. There's a there's a, uh, it was the geography, not the antenna system or the site location. It's when what signals are coming in to where to your region of the world. But this one looks like you know something else is in. I don't know. The gain looks good. I mean, that's 23 dB of RF gain. That looks pretty good. Hardly any over ranges, so there's not any bursts going on. Um, I think this is not the newest software. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to start to upgrade software on the HamSCI sites because I've made some fixes that actually are useful to at least to me and to the Whisper Demon, to Gwen and me.
That
So,
sounds really good.
okay. Well, I don't know. Do we have any other candidates? Bob was a great find there. I,
I haven't. I have stopped looking for them at the moment while we're waiting to try to get the. Once I couldn't get more ARCs triple eights, I kind of put that on pause.
okay.
So we're trying to build the replacement ARCs triple eights. I think the next thing we're going to try to do is get the Whisper Sans deployed because we know
Mhm.
we have all of that hardware. So I think we're
Yeah.
going to focus on that. Gary has a list of people that are willing to be hosts. So I'm gonna work with Gary on getting that list together. And then I'm actually trying to hire someone else who might be able to help with some of these things at Scranton. And then if that works out, that person might be helping Majid with doing the setup and shipment of those
Okay.
Whisper Sons. So
Good. Okay. Well, I think before we deploy more, yeah, well, the Whisper sounds very good and stable, and that's an easy deployment.
yes.
The receivers are a lot more work, and
Yes.
um,
That's why we're gonna start with the Whisper Sons because we have them, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yes.
Good. You don't have any more triple A's?
I do have a few more. I just kind of put that on the back burner for the
Yeah.
moment. But
Okay.
yeah, but Bob, yes, Bob was a very good candidate for that.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I haven't logged on to his server is on the right. He has a rack number, and we can.
yes, he is a rack
Okay,
number.
okay.
Mhm.
Well, I might go. I'll probably upgrade his software too, but I probably would start with yours.
Okay.
Well, I can do this K3LR. It's this software upgrade process is very very reliable. I mean, worst case, I always can. The rack service runs completely independently of Whisper Demon, so even if Whisper Demon crashes, the rack tunnel is there. So. Um, it's so I've been pretty successful. I test two or three of sites that I have control over before I start to inflict my new software on others. But I'm up into the 2160s. I think that your sites are in commit number 20 something, 2016. So 100 commits behind. So
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
look at those. Look at how that whole background level stepped down just now.
Huh.
I mean, that was a. I don't know what else is. There's stuff going on there that I.
Is there,
eh,
I mean, is there like a warehouse or a building that could have a lot of lights in it?
don't know. I do you know anything about this?
A lot of lights.
Yeah,
No,
This
like a barn or a workshop or something.
no. I mean, this isn't a little garage right behind a house. And when it was moved, it was I don't think so.
Hmm.
well, that was unusual.
I mean, is it, well, I guess well, I mean, if you were to, if you get up at, in the middle of the night and have a chance to look, it might be interesting to see if it's still there when people are likely to be asleep.
Well, it's 11 p.m. right now. I thought the house was not really lived in. It's not a residence, is it? Or is it?
No, it's not. Yeah, he uses it it's gonna be like an Airbnb sort of thing, or for guest operators.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's not.
they might be there. Of course, there might be
Yeah,
some. Well, hams could be there any time of the day or night. So
that's right. They can be.
so this, this is not the middle of the night may not be the time when it's the lights are off. So it's anyway. Well, that was, whoop, look at, no. Why does that only go to, there was no overload event associated with that. That was not an overload. Why it only went up to 42 megahertz?
Probably aliasing. I don't know.
Well, okay. We should let Nathaniel go to bed. Take care of your family. Okay?
Thanks, Rob.
Okay. Keep in
Thanks,
touch.
Clint. Talk
Okay.
to everyone later.
Okay.
Bye.